Welcome everybody to the non-online version. Unfortunately, the um, Twitch doesn't want to allow me to go online, so I'll record it offline and rant something, I guess. So the idea is we're going to do 30-second drawings, and after those 30 seconds, for 5 minutes, and when those I'm not even I'm all flustered. Nice one, right? 1 second. This is ridiculous. Why does it have to be so hard? There we go. No. Oh man. Mondays, right? There you go. Inception. Okay. Gonna start on the next one when that shifts. Okay. Yeah, so we're gonna do for 5 minutes these faster ones, and then 5-minute poses. For me, well, like one of the coolest things about doing life drawing is the idea of like the human body being such a complex entity, right? There's so many layers to the human body. There's so many definitions. There's so many muscles. There's like the naked skin with light on top. It acts in a specific way where you can see a lot of things, and if you it's like that classic what's it called, sphere, you know, of art basics you have to look at, you know, when you're learning to draw, like to render a sphere. But the human body is like that sphere when it doesn't have clothing on, but it's way more complicated than that. And when you see it, there's so many aspects that you, as an artist, you have to learn, you have to observe, you have to understand. And that's why for me life drawing is such a key thing to do. And it also shows you the gaps in your armor. You know, you think you are good at something, and then you do life drawing, and it shows like general understanding of anatomy, general understanding of light, form, perspective, all these things. And obviously you can be really good at life drawing and really bad at another type of drawing, right? But it's like one of those things. If you do life drawing as a supplementary task, you get really, really good at art in general, and observational skill, understanding of what you're drawing. Oh, this one is fun. Nice foreshortening. And this is like really pokes hole in your, oh, nice. Like, how well do you know foreshortening here? And I think with 5 minutes poses, it's going to be interesting when we are warmed up with 30 seconds. And the whole like try to capture what you see aspect of doing these 30 seconds. And I'm absolutely failing at it at the moment. But that's why I think the beauty of doing these exercises is the fact that it is a skill you can practice, a skill that you can get better at. And that's the beauty of it. And I think the downside of not being able to show nudity on Twitch in this instance is the fact that I would love to do it with, you know, just the body without clothing. Because then when you see all the definitions, you see all the rotations, you see all these things a lot better. So this is the last pose, and then we're going to switch to longer poses. We're going to see what that does to our understanding of time and form, and how we're going to observe things. Ballerinas are beautiful. All right, let's stop that. No thanks. Let's do only covered, both same 5-minute poses. Let's get drawing. So now we're going to do 5-minute poses, which means we're going to have more time, which is a great thing. But it also means we're going to have more time, which is a bad thing, because we're going to start making mistakes that we normally haven't done. We're going to be thinking we have all the time in the world. We're going to make different kinds of mistakes, which is it's a really fun thing to be conscious about when you're doing these things. You know, like if it's your first time doing 5 minutes poses after 30 seconds, you're gonna make mistakes, guaranteed. Like, you're gonna rush it, you're gonna mismanage your time, you're gonna like start snowing in on details and like focus in on them, absolutely pointless. You know, like a waste of time, waste of energy. Or you're gonna be done with the pose, like a 30-second pose, and then then redraw and redraw and redraw, like I am doing. I rushed it, and hopefully what in the end is going to show with a couple of 5-minute poses is a different kind of result than the first one. This is being the first 5-minute pose. And always what happens is you're gonna start doing fancy stuff. So it will be very interesting to see how you spend these 5 minutes in the 5-minute poses. Like, in one way here, I'm cheating because I'm erasing, right? With traditional media, you wouldn't really. I mean, you could actually, no, I take that back. You would be able to erase, but ideally, you shouldn't, right? Because where is that center line? It's a little bit of a bad reference in that sense, but still fun. And one thing that's good I always try to do is when I'm doing life drawing, even though obviously there's no intersecting lines across the volume, I always try to look for them. You know, like, what's the direction of the head, the planes of the head, planes of the arms, planes of the torso, and by doing that, you can kind of start figuring out a little bit better of the volumes, especially as you got 5 minutes. You can analyze a little bit more. But yeah, like I said, I would really have loved full nude reference, because now we see a lot of weird distortions in her suit because of the way she's rotating limbs. Like we can see at her wrist on our right arm, her left, how there's these kind of because she's rotating the arm, she gets these strange stretch marks in the suit, which, you know, isn't really helping us understand her volume. So it's a little bit of a downside there. There is this technique I'm not really familiar with. I've only seen it secondhand, which is like a mapping, like landmark sketch technique. And this landmark sketch technique is like when you draw let's say we're drawing her now, and at some point I need to start mapping, like now, right? So I'm like doing landmark key points in the drawing, or from the reference in my drawing, to try to being able to pinpoint where the next shapes are, and landmarks just being meaning like very clear, like points of interest in the picture, right? Like the negative space of her gun arm. Well, this is a horrible drawing, but I'm trying to. I mean, I have 5 minutes, so I'm fully intending to improve this drawing. But what I meant was like the negative space in her arm. That could be a landmark, and then from this corner of her hip where the belt is, you look at the belt and where that V shape is, and then what shapes are going where to support your drawing, like which is the direction of her arm, which is the direction of that angle, and you can start like mapping out. And this in this one is a little bit hard to see because she's clothed. But the idea is that the human body has landmarks, regardless of the positive or negative space. Meaning, like the collarbones, the nipples, the hip bone. You know, they are all key landmarks on the human body, and there is this life drawing technique where you like draw triangles almost. You can like map the corners of the hip bone like triangle to the nipples, then from the nipples to the center of the throat, and from the throat to the mouth, and the mouth to the eyes, and top of the head. It's like same certain distances, and you can map the pose out that way by using these landmarks. And one of those things you should always look for when you're doing these is that you're looking for those landmarks, like what's the corner of the knees, you know, in the perspective. The other knee would probably be back there, and all the joints are is an easy way to remember. It's like all the joints are boxes, while the space in between the joints are cylinders. And in that way, like a hip bone, you can map into a box, and then you can start kind of trying to measure the direction, the rotation of the limbs and the joints and so on by just looking at where the hips are going. and you can start like going by the landmarks, which is the right, which is the wrong way to go, and at the same time as the negative and positive space of, you know, the spatial aspect of the of her, like the reference. You know, what's the negative space in her armpit and arm versus belly. You know. But yeah, but this reference wasn't very good for a 5-minute pose. There's a lot of black and very little landmarks. It's really hard to see. There's a lot of guessing involved here. Shame. They should have like hashtags for 5 minutes. Okay, let's try this one. Oh, another one with black. Such a shame. But it's a cool pose. And all that gear on top is really obscuring the anatomy. But we can, this is better than the previous one, but it's still a bit, you know. We can still see rotation of parts though. But yeah, I wish that Twitch, I mean, obviously you can't do that on Twitch, show nudity, because there's kids on Twitch. And not everyone understands that it's natural. And, you know, you gotta have like a safe middle ground, I guess. But nevertheless, it's a shame. I wonder if there's a alternative. I mean, there is alternatives to Twitch, obviously, where you could do live drawing only. But you couldn't do that and like broadcast it on Twitch, like restream it, because you're still within. You need to adhere to the guidelines of Twitch. But I wonder if that would be like a cool channel to have like a constant life drawing loop. I think that could be actually quite a cool channel to have. Like you're constantly updating with great like sourced anatomy ref. And just having it looping in different intervals. Like you record 1 hour of 30-second poses, 1 hour of 5-minute poses, 1 hour of 30-minute poses or whatever, and then you just have many different episodes and you loop those episodes. Could be a great idea actually. Or you have like sessions like this. We did a couple of 30-second ones and then we switched to 5-minute poses. But the question is, at what platform would you do that channel? Maybe you could do it as a I wonder which platform would have okay with nudity. Pornhub. Well, maybe we should do it on Pornhub. Life drawing classes on Pornhub. Actually, why not? Seconds left. Let's redraw that head. I mean, how many would use it? I mean, I probably would use it. So this is the second. I mean, what's with all the black shit poses? I'm not gonna do this one. I'm gonna swap it to another one. Another one is way better. Blurry, but way better. You can see already the difference when we can see the muscles, see the skin. We can like navigate the poses navigate the pose significantly better. The volumes, everything. That's the downside of having it like safe for work clothes references, is that just this is the exact reason why it's like the prudeness of like nudity in a lot of places is stupid, because of, you know, as an artist it's such an like a really important thing to be able to do life drawing, but then also not everyone has the maturity, and you know, the whole classic thing of giggling when they get undressed, like your very first life drawing in school or whatever, and you're young and it's like, oh, he's gonna be naked. But then when you start drawing, you just forget about it, right? It's not even, you don't even look at that as a human anymore when you're doing life drawing. You're just mad rushing to try to get something down, you know. And I find it so important, and such a shame that you there's like a clamp on it, right? And how are you able to learn it if it's frowned upon? Or, you know, in this instance, like Twitch, they would, if they knew the importance of it, they would go like, yeah, sure, life drawing is okay. 1 second. I will have a package, so I gotta go get it. It's gonna be an empty space. 4 minutes left. That looks about, it's about right. But yeah. But it's such an important educational thing to do, these things, because like I said earlier, it ticks all the boxes. Light, form, perspective, anatomy, spatial understanding, not only like observationally what you're looking at and understanding, you know, what goes where, but you also have to understand it in your drawing and make your drawing valid, you know, not just so it looks right, but that you understand the spatial aspect of your drawing, you know, like which part is going where. Because a lot of people, me included, do the mistake that we draw with symbols or simplifications, and a lot of times we can't see our own mistake because we're drawing the symbol of the correct thing rather than the actually correct shape, right? We're simplifying, we're filtering reality through our understanding of things, and when we're drawing it, it always ends up stylized, right? Or always ends up slightly altered than exact reality. But regardless of that fact, is such a great practice to try to do that, and try to, you know, re-hack your brain to stop thinking in symbols, and that you're actually having to draw all aspects of what you're trying to represent rather than shortcuts. I think it's okay to do in your art, but in order to understand something, it's really important to do these kind of practices where you stop yourself from making shortcuts and in the wrong way, you know, like a shorthand. I see a lot of people have problem with feet and legs posing and in perspective and depth, and that's just because, you know, they're drawing it as their mind sees it and not as it is in reality, which means like they have to study the positions of the leg way more and stop drawing it as a symbol of the legs, but the actual spatial aspect of you know, the things we call legs. Because legs isn't legs, it's just shapes that we give the label legs. And it's important to draw those combinations of shapes correctly, regardless if it's a leg or nose. But as soon as we say leg, our brain goes chick chick, oh, legs are this, or nose is this, but nose isn't a thing, right? It's just a combination of shapes that our brain goes nose, like this sideways. That's not a nose. It could be a nose, but our brain can definitely see that as a nose. Upside down 7. Okay, that's it. Sorry for the strange lack of internet or OBS. I don't know what OBS was doing. It was just a black screen on Twitch. I'll put this on YouTube. Sorry for the rough start, and I mean, it off put me completely. I had a topic even to discuss, which flew out the window when I had to do this. But anyways, have a good one, good night, and see you tomorrow morning, hopefully without issues. Have a good one.